How did we get here?
Buc-ee's knows what it's doing.
A sensory overload.
Applin is now taking Buc-ee's national.
Are you ready?
Yeah. On the surface, Buc-ee's is a gas station chain that is starting to expand around the country,
with travel centers outside of Texas and plans for many more.
But it's so much more than that. It is brisket and beaver nuggets and maybe a breakthrough in retail.
They have now grown. This is the 53rd location.
I am wearing gas station pajamas, for goodness sakes. And that's only because the onesies in my size were sold out. I want to explain why Buc-ee's is winning and why I think everyone else is getting distracted.
It's like the Trader Joe's of C-stores.
You may have just given me a pull quote. I don't know. That might be in the teaser.
That's kind of accurate.
I mapped these stores all around the country, and I mapped the store itself. And I think I learned something that applies to every business, even if it doesn't have a bobblehead. So we need to have a primer on what exactly Buc-ee's is, because until recently, this was a regional chain. This is a map of every Buc-ee's in America. For comparison, here are the Wawas, and here is Sheetz. You can see that up until recently, Buc-ee's was a regional chain, which is why people are still learning about it. Wawas and Sheetz are known for their made-to-order deli-style food. That's how they found a higher margin business in the relatively low margin gasoline sales business. But Buc-ee's has developed a different approach.
Panna presents Bucky Beaver Space Guard.
Brusha, brusha, brusha. Here's
Toothpaste mascot Bucky Beaver is reportedly the inspiration for founder Arch Applin's nickname, Beaver. The Beaver nickname is legit. He actually shows up in a lot of old newspapers as Beaver Applin. In fact, the address of the first Buc-ee's is the one he used when running for state legislature in 1996. He didn't pull it off. Buc-ee's was co-founded by Applin and the very hard-to-find Don Wasek in 1982. This is a rare picture of them on Texas politician Dan Patrick's Facebook page. The chain had a less gigantic-sized beginning, which you can see today on the map. But there was this turning point that started happening in the early 2000s. People started noticing that Buc-ee's had trend-setting convenience. It began to have a distinct atmosphere. In 2003, their Luling gas station changed the game as a travel center, though this one has actually replaced it since because it was relatively small by modern Buc-ee's standards. So what actually distinguishes a modern Buc-ee's station? Everyone is going to tell you about their size, and that is huge. Look at all of these gas pumps that are visible in a drone shot of the store. This store in Rockingham, Virginia is around 74,000 square feet with 120 pumps. Here's me for scale, I'm 5'11". Just look at all these cars, but there are no trucks allowed. People also mention the massive restrooms.
Lots of space, tile floor to ceiling, well lit.
Applin designed the restrooms.
And I took a camera inside just kidding, I did not do that. But I can tell you now that it has fuller length stalls, it is clean, and on the one that I went to, every single stall had a tush light. It was a device that gave you a green light when it was vacant. The company has long hung our hats on the restrooms. This is a 10-year-old article that hits the same themes. Billboard ads have long included restrooms so clean we leave mints in the urinals, or only 262 miles to Buc-ee's, you can hold it. But ending the story at that, it is like talking about Nike and only mentioning the swish, not the fact that they sell shoes. I mean, what is Buc-ee's real business? I think that is only visible when you map out every single thing that they sell. Okay, so I wanted to chat with Nate Rosen about this. He is a founder at Express Checkout, where he writes about crazy new consumer packaged goods. Products are key to understanding Buc-ee's.
This is my friend.
This is amazing.
Yeah, I don't know how much you can see here.
But
You can tell how big it is from the outside. Wow.
is there any like cool lingo that I can use in the Buc-ee story? Like, you know, like
Oh, C-store is something you
okay,
can use.
yeah, that's one. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
It's a C-store.
Anything I should look for in particular in there that like, you know, would pique your interest personally, and I should just make sure to buy for the video?
I'd be really curious their like breakdown of like their own branded products versus
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
their not branded products.
So I went around Buc-ee's like a total weirdo, collecting data. Let me give you a tour because I think you can see it so much more clearly when there aren't people running around or various like Beaver merchandise drops in your face. I'm gonna hide everything that they sell. So right here, the gray stuff is just the base store. This is like the cash registers. These are actually the restrooms. This is like where you put your coffee creamer in, you know, stuff like that. So this is everything that Buc-ee sells that doesn't have Buc-ee's branding on it. So right here, for example, you've got cigarettes, tobacco in this section. Here you've got what I like to call country crap female edition, you know, a lot of bless this house, love pillows, stuff like that. Here you've got country crap male edition, which is like hunting's cool and I love to eat deer raw and, you know, stuff like that. Back here you've got beverages. There's not really a Buc-ee's bottled soda. Now I'm gonna go ahead and turn on the Buc-ee's branded stuff. So everything in red right here, all this stuff is stuff that has prominent Buc-ee's branding. They have tourist trappy fudge and nut stations, as well as fresh brisket. You can see it is dispensed in this giant station, but it's pretty much in sandwich form. Those are draws, but the breakthrough is everything else. And that is because it is a special type of product. It is a private label product.
Buc-ee's is a brand. I would say other one like Kirkland is like
Yeah.
a brand, even though it's just Costco private label. Like there's no.
Although
but
I'm
it's
kind of like, do you feel like there's a layer of irony to the Kirkland that's not there with the Buc-ee's? Like, I feel like
yes.
the Kirkland sweatshirt is like half of it is like, haha, I'm wearing a Kirkland sweatshirt.
Right, it's cheap,
like,
it's whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think so. I think Buc-ee's is just like built a brand for itself outside of like even any one product. Like it doesn't even matter that they have. Doesn't matter what product it is. I mean, you went in there. They have Buc-ee's mugs, T-shirts, phone cases. They've made
Right.
their own products, but I think it's for Buc-ee's. It's more about Buc-ee's than what they're actually serving.
This is a big wagon filled with Beaver toys. Here's a bunch of merch over here. I think here is about where I got my pajama pants. This might be the section I found most interesting. These are all different types of snacks, and sometimes you'll have the Buc-ee brand of, say, chips or chocolate or whatever, and then right over on the opposite side, you'll have the mainstream brand version of almost the exact same product. I think this is key to understanding Buc-ee's. Private label brands are just about as old as grocery stores. 8 O'Clock Coffee started as a private label brand for A&P, but for much of their lifespan, these brands were pretty generic. They marketed solely on cost. Just look at this picture. It is so aggressively generic that it's actually kind of cool. I'll show you private label with this Buc-ee's chocolate bar. Somebody makes this for a range of clients, maybe even for sale to consumers. But then Buc-ee's comes and asks to put their name on it. Another company can do the same, but the idea is that the brand will differentiate it. In the last few decades, private labels have shown a lot more flair. Target has private label brands with real brand identity, and so does Trader Joe's. And I think that's how you understand Buc-ee's. Take away the brisket and the fudge. These are basically the equivalent of the MTO offerings of Wawa and Sheetz. You do it and you still have a lot of stuff left in a high margin private label business. That's what Buc-ee's does that is special. Buc-ee's isn't competing with gas stations. It's competing with premium stores, with department stores, with groceries. And that is when you understand just how important this Beaver is. Brands like 7-Eleven have private label stuff. Sheetz has spiked soda, that's a thing. But let's be real, Buc-ee's has something special. Bucky Beaver, children's book aside, doesn't actually have that much personality. The coloring book shows a pretty generic beaver as well. but this logo is really, really cute, and it has with it all the positive associations of brisket and fudge and vacations and bathrooms, all right here. You can Google the ingredients of a lot of private label goods and track them down. Bucky's jerky, a famous offering, was originally made by local New Braunfels Smokehouse, though volume might have exceeded their capacity. These animal crackers, they aren't any animal, they are Bucky's, even though I tracked down the manufacturer to this one in Wisconsin. They didn't respond to my requests for comment.
They're pretty strict on the NDAs for these kind of private label things in most cases, right? Does that couple with exclusivity, or like in your opinion, or?
It's a mixture of things. So like Trader Joe's is also very tight-lipped about who their suppliers are. For example, like pretty much everybody knows that Trader Joe's pita chips is Stacy's. Like I think for the private label, it's partially exclusivity. I think the other side of it too is like sometimes they make custom formulas for Buc-ee's, for Trader Joe's. They adjust. Sometimes these big brands don't want to be known as, you know, private label manufacturer, even though it probably is really lucrative for them.
These cookie balls have almost identical ingredients to this Target brand, so I would guess that they are the same thing. The same with the birthday cake ones. The gummy bears, they have the Albanese Gummies A stamped right on their tummies, but Buc-ee's is the logo. Even Buc-ee's iconic Beaver Nuggets are really similar to Walnut Creek Foods' puff corn, but the brand of Buc-ee elevates it. Outdoor store Bass Pro sells suspiciously Beaver Nuggety caramel puff corn, but who cares about Uncle Buck? This beaver has become a symbol of what is basically a Texas-themed Trader Joe's with jerky, pickled quail eggs, and lots of merch. Once you have a brand as powerful as Buc-ee, you can plug it in easily in other places.
There's platforms to connect with them, like Keychain is one. That will just connect you with a co-man.
Okay.
That like Trader Joe's might be using Keychain, for example, to find some of their co-mans. They might just be reaching out cold.
I had no idea that Keychain existed, and you know, execution matters a lot with these things, but I think sites like this show you that brand can be really, really powerful when making something is getting easier and easier. Texas A&M is even selling these private label products because the Buc-ee's brand is so strong, and so are lots of website resellers that just go into a store like this, buy a bunch of stuff, and ship it around the country because Buc-ee's doesn't yet, but people want it. Look at this map again with that knowledge of Buc-ee's private label reliance, and it looks a lot different. Like, here are the bathrooms, right? To get to those bathrooms, you've got to go through this army of private label stuff. It almost looks like a football playbook. Take away the red here, and you have a serviceable gas station, but you don't have a phenomenon. And a phenomenon is what the red is, and it's what Buc-ee's is. Okay, so why did I make this video? In addition to wanting to expense Beaver Nuggets, on my last video about gas station wars, people said Buc-ee's deserves its own video. And it's only now that I realize how right they are. Buc-ee's is something unique, and it represents something new in retail. Mapping Buc-ee's made me realize that this place is really misunderstood. The mere presence of gas pumps has made people underestimate it. Beaver Nugget, does anyone else think that kind of sounds like beaver poop? Like Buc-ee, the beaver, has some sort of magical poop that tastes like caramel puff corn? I mean, is that not implied in the name?
Buc-ee's is headed to court, fighting for its beaver-wearing baseball cap logo.
Buc-ee's reliance on its brand may be why the company is super aggressive in suing competitors with remotely similar trademarks, like this lawsuit against Choke Canyon. Anyone would protect their logo, but it is clear that the stakes are higher for Buc-ee.
So we found the mega gas station has also made quite the impact on the local economy.
Buc-ee's has even used its disruptive power in negotiations with municipalities. Small towns offer millions in tax breaks to get its business. This recent impact study for a planned Buc-ee's shows an estimated $60 million development cost, but $31 million a year in sales. That would amount to $1 million a year for the town without extra tax breaks. There are, of course, infrastructure costs that go with that, but A lot of places are biting. Go ahead and look at that map of Buc-ee's locations again. When you click on the ones further from Texas, you notice more and more Buc-ee themed street names. That is a clue that these were specially built locations lured in by tax breaks. I almost want to say that all of us can learn from the way that Buc-ee's is underestimated and how categories shouldn't hold us back, but I think it is at least true for businesses. Buc-ee's knows what it is selling. It's selling this. All right, that is it for this one. Thank you for watching. Thank you to Nate for talking to me. His Express checkout newsletter is a really fun way to learn about CPG stuff, just kind of as a hobby for me. I think it's really fun. Also, my newsletter is about to cross 5,000 subscribers. I think that's right. I'd love to have you there. I put one out with every video to let you know when a video has come out and to get into something I couldn't get into in the video proper. This week, I'm gonna tell you exactly how I made this model of Buc-ee's and the work that went into it. It was a really fun project, and I think it does change my understanding of Buc-ee's. Also over on Patreon, there's always an ad-free version of every video, and there's a reaction video where I kind of comment and tell you the things that I couldn't include in the video itself. This week, I'll probably be mentioning how many of these snacks I was like eating. So yeah, thank you for being here and watching, and I will see you next time. All right. Bye. Want to see a cool trick?